50 Cent was born Curtis James Jackson III in Queens, New York, to his 15-year-old mother, Sabrina Jackson. Nothing is known about Curtis's biological father. Sabrina, being so young at a time when government help for teen mothers didn't exist, turned to the streets and drug dealing to afford her young prince the extras she didn't have. Sabrina was known to be a no-nonsense type of hustler and didn't take shit from anybody. In her time in the game, Sabrina had to stand up to many male counterparts in the drug trade, which gave her a presence and tough exterior that was not lost on her son. In 1983, when Curtis was 8 years old, his beloved mother Sabrina was murdered by what 50 Cent believes was a rival drug dealer. She was poisoned after something was slipped in her drink and her gas was left on, and subsequently became a fire that took her life and fueled her son's life forever. After his mother's death, Curtis went to live with the love of his life, his grandmother Beulah Jackson and grandfather Curtis Jackson. It was around this time his Aunt Geraldine gave Curtis the nickname Boo Boo. The next 4 years of Boo Boo's young life were full of pain, fusion, and loss. He lost his anchor, the person that was willing to kill and die for him, his everything. In the years between Boo Boo's birth and Sabrina's death, Sabrina had to adjust and adapt to her life in the game. Between 8 and 12 years old, Boo Boo had to do the same. Boo Boo was no longer able to enjoy the little extras his mother went the extra mile to make sure he had. In his young eyes, this was unacceptable. At 12 years old, driven by necessity and inspired by the only people in the hood Boo Boo saw with money, his mother's drug dealer friends, Boo Boo started selling drugs. He was seen as nothing less than an angel in his grandmother's eyes and could do no wrong. You couldn't come to Beulah Jackson with a tale of what her grandson was doing in the street and get her to believe you. As far as she was concerned, he was at his after-school program. But in reality, he was trailblazing his way through the streets. Young, bold, aggressive, and with seemingly nothing to lose, Boo Boo made a name for himself quickly. He was most definitely the youngest in charge in the neighborhood, and like his mother, took shit from no one. Boo Boo did a juvenile correction stint at 15 and was arrested for selling to an undercover at 19 and sentenced to 3 to 9 years. This could have ended 50 Cent before he began, if not for Boo Boo being offered 6 months in a prison boot camp instead. Boo Boo's teenage years came with many passions and pastimes like boxing, sparring, bulletproof cars, selling crack, and rap. It also came with a new name, 50 Cent, a metaphor for change inspired by 80s stick-up kid Kelvin Martin, better known as 50 Cent, from Brooklyn. Boo Boo resonated with 50 Cent's philosophy that he would provide for himself by any means. By the age of 18, he had been hustling for 6 years and put himself in a position above all the dudes just jumping off the porch. As young as he was on every OG's radar, and they were on his. 18 years old, rolling through the neighborhood in a bulletproof Mercedes puts everyone on notice. His brash, unafraid attitude was disliked and unwelcome by some of the older hustlers in the hood. None more than Kenneth Supreme McGriff, notorious Queens drug dealer and founder of the Supreme Team. 50 Cent, who grew up without a father, refused to be sunned by anyone. What compounded the dislike between the two was Supreme's alliance and financial support of Murder Inc. Records, Ja Rule, and Irv Gotti. 50 Cent and Ja Rule's beef stems from 50 Cent being seen by Ja Rule with a man that robbed him. During Ja Rule's rise to fame, 50 Cent was still hustling on the streets, but was always smart enough to know that if he could find a big money way out, he'd take it. Becoming a father to his first son, Marquise Jackson, and a chance encounter with a hip-hop legend would entice 50 Cent to try another route professionally. Hip-hop royalty and Queens legend Jam Master Jay took a liking to 50 Cent, who was intrigued by the 18-year-old kid driving the bulletproof Mercedes, living the life that most rappers rap about. He signed 50 Cent to JMJ Records. A couple years later, Columbia Records expressed interest in 50, and 50 negotiated a release from JMJ for $50,000. The advance 50 Cent got from Columbia was $65,000, so after lawyer fees, 50 was left with $5,000. He was back on the block hustling while working on his debut album, Power of the Dollar. He was working hard and dropping music that had him white hot in the street. And none had him hotter amongst rappers than How to Rob. How to Rob was a scathing diss track where he robbed almost every rapper, singer, or executive in the game. How to Rob had 50 Cent primed for superstardom. Unfortunately, 2 months before the album was set to release, 50 Cent was shot 9 times in the car in front of his grandmother's house. He was shot in the hand, arm, hip, both legs, chest, and left cheek. The bullet that ripped through his cheek knocked out a wisdom tooth and swelled his tongue. Miraculously, he survived the shooting, but what was unsure was if it ruined his life. He spent 13 days in the hospital and then some time healing at home. In that time, his album was shelved and he was cut loose from Columbia Records. No one in the music industry wanted to have any part of the 50 Cent problem. Everything that he had worked for was seemingly gone forever. Not to mention, he'd just been shot 9 times, and that score needed to be settled. He quickly knew who had him shot and who paid to have him shot. The story goes, Supreme was tired of 50 Cent dissing Ja Rule and interfering with his business with Murder Inc. Records, and paid to have Hamo Bomb murder 50 Cent. Ironically, as mentioned in the 50 Cent classic Many Men, 3 weeks after shooting 50 Cent, Hamo was killed over a separate beef. That left 50 Cent driving around with a gun in his lap looking for Supreme. Luckily, Eminem found 50 Cent before 50 Cent found Supreme. Someone handed Eminem 50 Cent's post-9 Shots mixtape Guess Who's Back, and he was blown away by an artist that he already knew was dope. He immediately played it for Dr. Dre and Dre was sold. They decided to go after signing 50 Cent as a joint venture to Shady Aftermath Records. They flew 50 Cent to Los Angeles, and just like that, the three-headed monster was born. The world got familiar with 50 Cent on the soundtrack for Eminem's highly successful film 8 Mile, with the Ja Rule diss track Wankster. Shortly after, the first single for 50 Cent's debut album, Get Rich or Die Tryin', dropped, In the Club. It was an atomic bomb on the radio and in the club. Get Rich or Die Tryin' went on to sell over 10 million copies worldwide, going certified diamond and fueling an amazing career for 50 Cent. He introduced his record label G-Unit, which consisted of Lloyd Banks, an incarcerated Tony Yayo, and Young Buck. In 2003, you couldn't walk 5 feet without hearing G-Unit. 50 Cent during his rise did not shy away from the life he already knew. The beefs did not stop. They actually grew in abundance. And the bulletproof trucks were even more prevalent in 50's life than before. 50 Cent learned early in life how to move under pressure, so these were lucrative problems for him, not something to be afraid of. The beefs he jumped into could have ruined any other MC, but not 50. His relentless attacks on Ja Rule and Murder Inc. slowly but surely did what they were intended to do: slow Ja's career to a halt. As for Supreme, he was convicted of murder for hire in an unrelated incident and sentenced to life. 50 went on to release multi-platinum albums, appear in his own as well as other popular video games, appeared in over 30 films and countless television shows, multi-million-dollar soft drink, energy drink, and liquor deals. He even put his hands in the tech space after the success of Dr. Dre's Beats by Dre. 50 Cent's headphone company, SMS Audio, was an annoyance to Interscope CEO Jimmy Iovine and looked at as direct competition. 50 didn't see it that way. He believed there was room for everyone in the space to make money, but we all know greed is the most powerful thing in the entertainment business, and these greedy little men hate to see us win. During a conversation with Jimmy Iovine prior to 50 Cent parting ways with Interscope, 50 told him basically, "The fuck you want me to do?" And according to 50, Jimmy pointed at the TV screen, insinuating that maybe 50 should dedicate himself to acting. 50, being who he is, took that to another level and has propelled himself into the television world as a mogul, producing many hit TV shows, starting with his first, Power, in which he plays Kanan Stark and also has directed an episode. It's safe to say that 50 Cent is an anomaly and has made an amazing life for himself despite being against all odds. Sabrina's boy done good.